Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I would like to thank God, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because of His bless and mercy. We can come together without any obstacle and with a good condition. I also want to thank of giving me opportunities to deliver a speech on the occasion. On this occasion, I will talk about the corruption and what we should do with this. Ladies and gentlemen, the Indonesian government is a very important body in the organization of state life. Within the government, there are ministers as an agent to carry out their function and that is in the life of the nation. Basically, ministers devote themselves to the welfare of the nation. However, it can't be denied that there are ministers who do not fulfill their obligation. Corruption in Indonesia still occurs as a result that is not transparent and worse makes corruption is a culture within the government. This can have an impact on the moral crisis of a person who easily commits irregularities even though their welfare is sufficient. Corruption has become normalized and even culture in Indonesia. This is the result of habit that has been going on for a decades. The Indonesian government as the body that runs the government is mostly occupied by people who have a great power to be able to control the government system. This can be seen during the election of the legislative council that many people who have long had power will remain in the seat of government. This will be easily regulated by them and they can take refuge by the laws they make. Long before the current occupation cases, the law is Indonesian was said to be smart. Quoting by the Supreme Court Justice Artijo Alpostar that the punishment for the corruption should be the death penalty, like in China, but the juridically it's very difficult because the conditions are too complicated for the corruptors to be sentenced to death. And an example, a corruptor in China, for example, the pandemic or when he does it again, the penalty of death it will be do it. The problem of Indonesian corruption is difficult to solve. The death penalty for corruptor in the can freely practice continuously. Ladies and gentlemen, in the other hand, the problem that occurs in the life of minister is the economic situation that they have a good economic, but for corruption practice, it can't be denied that the person has a high income. It doesn't prevent him from committing a corruption. In addition, must have some interest that make him have to follow the standards of eligibility of an item. It can say that a culture when they sometimes buy luxury goods to fulfill their practice and personal desires. In Indonesia, it can be said that a minister will not feel a poverty, but it has become a belief in society that some ministers in Indonesia still commit corruption because they fulfill their needs above the interests of society. Ladies and gentlemen, the corruption still occurs and what we can do with this. First, decades in Indonesia have seen several cases of committing corruption. It is very uh, ending conversation to say that the law in Indonesia is not firm enough in dealing with the corruption cases. There needs to be personal awareness for a minister in carrying out these duties and obligation. Any heavy law will be useless for someone who wants to sabotage his ambiguity. Indeed, we need to emphasize that a minister is the driver of nation, and if they commit a violence, it means that they damage the country for a personal gain. The second is strengthened laws and ethical education because awareness of corruption is supported by strong laws so that ministers do not easily commit corruption. This is related to the third point, namely moral education carried out as a child as a basis as a minister is required to serve and take care of people's life. Ladies and gentlemen, finally, we must continue to guard the life of the nation. Minister must be closely monitored by them and selected to ensure that they fulfill their duties. Therefore, it is important for us, a society of the success of the nation, not to make the wrong choice and educated the minister or prospective minister that this harmony in the state. Probably this is enough for the speech that I can deliver on this occasion. And if there is any mistake in both in my speech or in my movement in delivering a speech, I do apologize of all of you. And I will say thanks for your attention.